Education. Why Ken's wrong. Education triggers a lot of painful emotions for Ken Wheeler. Find out how his own regrettable academic career leads him to the wrong conclusions about public education and homeschooling in the United States. For most of human history, societies viewed formal education as a privilege rather than a right. If your father was the king's personal physician, like Aristotle, you could go to the academy and have Plato as your professor. If you were an everyday plebe, like 99% of the populace, you'd pick up as much as you could from your parents and older siblings and hope for the best. That's why so many people in the ancient world ended up with the same job as their parents, whether it suited them or not. Cultures that valued universal education early on excelled. For example, Scots, Swedes, and the French were overrepresented among the wealthy, scholarly, and successful because even people of modest means received a basic education within their societies. Public education ensured that teachers were certified and accountable for what they taught. It also established standard curricula that elected school boards could at least try to match to local socioeconomic needs. Ken Wheeler didn't get along in school. He tells his viewers that of all the horrible things that have happened to me in life, public school was easily the worst. He describes his school days this way. I had the gift of wisdom and insight to know these teachers were all fools. I didn't listen to them. I didn't obey them. I knew I was smarter than them, and still am, of course. The angry photographer declares that schools teach filth and nonsense to their kids. He explains that he has no love for teachers because most of them can't teach. They don't know anything. They don't care about their job. The YouTuber behind Theoria Apophasis would like to see America return to the days when homeschooling was the norm. The trouble is, homeschooling in the 21st century has all the same shortcomings it had in the 19th. Most children perform better academically in school than at home because their peers influence them. Social stimulus from other kids boosts their IQ, and a bit of healthy competition motivates them to perform better in a formal classroom than in a family setting. Children find homeschooling tedious, and being cooped up at home all day makes them restless. Homeschooled children don't interact as much with peers outside their family, and when they do, they're more likely to be bullied. The main concern, though, is that very few parents are equipped to be teachers. As a result of all these shortcomings, most homeschooled kids aren't well prepared for college or for the workplace. There's a very good reason why only about 3% of American families homeschool their children, even though it's perfectly legal. Kentucky Ken insists that he's never heard of a problem child who was homeschooled. The truth is that a growing number of homeschooled children have grown up to become violent criminals and even mass murderers. They include Adam Lanza, the school shooter who killed 20 children and 6 adults in Sandy Hook. The Kehoe brothers, 2 of America's most infamous white supremacists, were also homeschooled. So was Alaska's notorious serial killer Israel Keyes, who confessed to 8 murders and whom police suspect was guilty of several more. None of this proves that homeschooling is a breeding ground for criminals. However, it does strongly refute Kentucky Ken's claim that homeschooled kids never grow up to be problem adults. Ken Wheeler also had a regrettable college experience. He describes it as a total waste. He claims to have spent years in college. The truth, as confirmed by the University of Kentucky's registrar, is that he spent just 2 years studying Russian at that college in his Lexington hometown and didn't graduate. He tells his audience that the university's only worthwhile resource was the library. I spent enormous amounts of time there, he says, quickly finding the really good stuff and being self-taught in a superior education. As part of this process, the angry photographer dabbled in the philosophy of Plato. It's beyond ironic that someone who identifies as a Platonist would also boast about being self-taught. Plato established the first academic institution, the academy, because of his passionate commitment to classroom instruction over self-directed book learning. He believed that books had their place as a pastime for scholars or to leave a legacy as teachers' lives drew to a close. However, he thought they were no substitute for lectures because, as he put it in his Protagoras dialogue, books can neither answer nor ask. In his dialogue The Phaedrus, Plato went further, saying that even the best of writings are but a reminiscence of what we know, and that only when subjects are taught and communicated for the sake of instruction and graven in the soul, which is the true way of writing, is there clearness and perfection and seriousness. There's an old saying that every self-taught man had a fool for a teacher. The angry photographer accuses formally educated people of being part of a vast conspiracy in almost every video. It seems to derive from the social dysfunction he endured during his own school years. Many of us lived through similar difficulties. The Theoria Apophasis host is entitled to our compassion for those crushing experiences. Even so, he's not entitled to resent those who had meaningful and rewarding academic and professional careers merely because he didn't benefit from the same experience.